Hello and welcome to the Village Halls podcast, sponsored by Allied Westminster, the UK's largest specialist provider of village hall insurance and the home of Village Guard. Now today I'm delighted to be joined by someone who technically qualifies as our first ever international guest. Well, that is if you base that around where they're calling from rather than where they actually come from. My guest, Jane Crofts, who right now is in Germany, has invested a huge amount of time and effort over the past 8 years into the refurbishment of a village hall in North Nottinghamshire. It's fair to say the project has been challenging at times, and Jane has kindly agreed to tell us about why she and her sister took on this huge task and how it's all been. Welcome, Jane.
Thank you for inviting me, Johnny.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for joining me today. Now, interestingly, Jane spends most of her time with her husband and children living and working in Germany, where she's a business consultant and language teacher. However, her great passion in life is actually the village of Wellow in North Nottinghamshire, where she grew up, and more specifically, Wellow Church Schoolroom. So come on, Jane, explain a little bit about how all that works.
Well, yes, I'm Wellow born and bred and have a family that stretches over at least 8 generations that living in this rural village. My mother is church warden, looking after the 12th century church, but she's also trustee to the small schoolroom. This is a Victorian schoolroom. And yes, over the last years, it's sadly been in disrepair. And 2013, we needed to look at doing some major restoration.
How old's your mum, Jane, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, she'll be coming up to 80 this May.
And she's still involved in the local community, in the hall and everything there, yeah?
Oh, absolutely. She's the heart and soul of the village, I'd say, and she looks after everybody and everything. Very much so the church. Without her, some things would fall apart. At the times when she used to, be coming over to Germany to visit me, there'd be people phoning me from the village saying, Jean, what do we do here? Yeah. She's that kind of person. Every village needs such a person.
Brilliant. Fantastic. And we can't mention Wellow without mentioning the famous maypole as well, because that's the landmark. That's the famous landmark there, isn't it?
It is indeed. Yes, it's 60 foot tall. It's rather unique. I think there are only a handful of maypoles that are still being danced around. We have our May Festival on Spring Bank Holiday Monday. Yeah. Where hundreds, if not, a couple of thousand of people turn up to the village to see the May Queen crowned and the dancing. It's the main sort of thing of the village, the maypole. It's beautiful. Brilliant. It's on the village green.
And the renovation project at the schoolroom, what stage is that at right now?
Well, we're at the point where we only have the west boundary wall to restore, and that's a 60-foot long, 4-foot high wall. The rest of the building we completed sort of summer 2019 and had an opening. Mm-hmm. But we just had this west boundary wall that needed about £5,000 to get that sorted. Yeah. But basically the rest of it's up and ready to go.
Yeah, okay. So let's step back to, I think it was 2013, wasn't it? Mm. And the moment you and your sister, what's your sister's name, by the way?
My sister's name is Joanne.
Joanne. So when you and your sister decided to take on the project, how, and perhaps more importantly, why, did you both become involved in this?
Well, we couldn't bear to see a heritage building in the village just beginning to really fall apart and not be used as in the way that we'd known it to be used, and which had served the community for all those years before. And
I guess you'd grown up seeing your mum heavily involved with the schoolroom as well, so you felt that was something that you had to take on from that perspective, really.
That's right. You couldn't expect. We've got 3 trustees looking after the schoolroom, the vicar and the 2 church wardens, and they're all in their 70s and 80s. And they were not going to be the ones that were going to be able to fill in forms and get funding together. So we thought we'd better take that on.
Brilliant. Now be honest here. How long was it before you realised the magnitude of the task that you'd taken on here?
That's an excellent question, Johnny. We thought at the beginning, okay, this perhaps be a 2-year job. Yeah. We'll, get everybody as enthusiastic as we are. The funders will see, oh, yes, a heritage building that has to be looked after. Everybody screams about how important the heritage of Britain is. They'll be straight on board. Uh-huh. But we hadn't realised that there were so many others that needed money too, and also that we were being competition with perhaps cities that, had social deprivation and needed help from certain funds as well. And the heritage buildings sort of seemed to come on the end of the list. Right. And so, yes, so it ended up being a much longer process than just 2 years.
And how much in terms of funding did you need, or did you need at the outset, but ultimately need as well?
Yes, we had at the very beginning an architect come in with a quantity surveyor, looked at everything and quoted about 120,000, which was a big gulp at the time. But it has actually taken 90,000. So, okay. But that's been with some, cleverness from ourselves.
Well done.
Getting local tradesmen in and, trying to help them at the same time as helping us and getting good quotes. I would say we fought hard to bring it under that 120,000. So 90,000 is where we're at.
And where's the funding come from? Has it come in dribs and drabs? Have you?
It has, and that's what's taken the time.
Yeah,
it really did. We've had it from Awards for All. To list the number, there were 15 of them. I've counted about 15 funds. So dribs and drabs, but the biggies were Nottinghamshire County Council's local improvement scheme. Mm-hmm. And the county councillor, he gave us some of his little grants. Awards for All, Charles Littlewood, Hill Trust, the Garfield Western, JN Derbyshire Trust.
Brilliant.
There's so many. But it has been dribs and drabs, and that's what's taken the time. But we've gone stage for stage. Interior first we had to do because we wanted to get the place being able to be open, at least used a little. Mm-hmm. Then the exterior. And now, like I say, we're on the very last bit of the west boundary wall, and we're so excited. We have the funding in for that too. So
brilliant. So, and aside from the fundraising, what other kind of obstacles and pressures, I guess, have you faced during the project?
Oh, well, it's quite challenging being away from home to do this.
Yeah.
But, I've got my right-hand man, my sister, my angel, as I call her. She's right on the doorstep, and I've phoned her up many a time, giving her maybe even half an hour's notice, saying, councillor so-and-so is coming, or representative from this funder is coming. Please meet them at the schoolroom, show them around, tell them what we're doing, excite them. Uh-huh. And so she'd been my right-hand man. She's, without Joanne, I couldn't have managed this.
And you must have met some interesting people and characters along the way as well, I would imagine, with this.
Yes, we've met some wonderful people, and I call them now friends of the schoolroom.
Yeah,
because we've had heritage building specialists out from the county council. Mm-hmm. We've had heritage tourism, conservation people out, and I keep hold of those contacts because who knows. We'll need them come other projects within the village.
Yeah. And listening to all of this, and then Jane, it begs the question: has it all been worth it?
Absolutely. Oh, in 2019, when we had the opening ceremony, we weren't going to wait for the last west boundary wall to get its funding. We thought, no, we're ready to go sort of now. So let's have the opening. That was a mammoth task in itself. Yeah. And we invited the fundraisers, representatives for the morning, and the villagers in the afternoon. And the villagers, oh, how wonderful. They patted us on the back and said, wow, how could you have possibly managed this from as far away as you are?
Yeah.
And I said, well, there's Mum and Joanne on the doorstep and other volunteers that I've encouraged to come in. I said, so it's been absolutely worth it. And just to have, some people pat us on the back and say, oh, how marvellous it is going through the village, past the maypole, and straight ahead of you is this glorious Victorian school building back as it should be. Yeah. So that's good enough for me. Definitely it's worth it.
And of course you've had the lockdown to contend with, and the fact that you're in Germany as well.
Yeah, I can't get home. Yeah. I can't get home. I haven't been home for a year, and that's unprecedented. Yeah. I've never been longer than 5 months away from Wellow.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah, because you regularly go back in the holiday times and all of that. Yeah.
I do. That's it. Every school holiday, we're home. Every school holiday. I'm lucky enough to be, self-employed, and my husband's a teacher, of course, children at school. So every school holiday, we're usually sat in the car and travelling home. Yeah. And using most of the holiday to look after schoolrooms and not going on nice holidays or relaxing. It's coming home to do jobs.
Yeah. And I understand as well, even though you can't get back home, you've been handling a heritage project.
We have, yes.
For the village as well. So tell me a bit more about that as well.
Yes, this is an arm really of the schoolroom. It's the schoolroom's Wellow Heritage Restoration Project, restoration and interpretation. So we'll be putting boards up with all the different parts of heritage that Wellow has. I mean, it's not only the maypole and the schoolroom and the church, there's also a moat around the village, an ancient dike, which is scheduled monument in parts, a lost village on the edge of the village. That's to talk about as well. Oh, so many things. There's so much to uncover. And yes, we've done that almost about 3/4 of the way through now. Yeah. But the majority of it has been done through lockdown, which, with archives and libraries closed, it's all been internet. It's really been quite a challenge, I must say.
I can imagine.
But I think we're going to get there.
Yeah. I guess you're a living example, really, of how things can be done remotely as well these days. Because I can't imagine in my mind somebody, in Germany being able to handle, a renovation and a project, a heritage project and so on. It's incredible.
I think it's the love of your home.
Yeah.
I mean, I could get quite emotional now. My home is everything to me.
Yeah.
And I think with 8 generations and more having been in this village and played their part on tithe appointments, on registering the common land, and yes, looking after the 12th century church as my mother does, it's just, it has to be. This is what I was probably born for, to do my part.
Yeah,
to look after this precious village.
It's almost like with a family connection and so on. It's like you're duty bound, but
that's right.
Yeah. But it's a passion. It's a passion as well.
Absolutely. And my background, of course, my degree was recreation and tourism management. Yeah. The heritage tourism was a module within that. Everything rural. I took every module that was anything to do with rural England. So all of that has helped through this restoration and this further project.
Yeah, brilliant. I love the commitment and the resilience, of course, as well, that you've shown for the village. And I guess you're not alone in that among village hall people. There's so many unsung heroes like you and your sister and your mum who give up so much of their lives to the local community.
Absolutely. And I was so pleased to hear your other podcast with Louise Beaton and Simon Bland. There are so many that volunteer so much time and give so much effort. And they have to be applauded, really, because it's a task that not many would take on.
a thankless task, yeah.
A thankless task. That's what the word I was looking for. Yeah. Perseverance and, passion. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. And before we finish, let me just ask, for the benefit of others as well, what would be Jane's top tips for anyone out there who's thinking about renovating their village hall or who might already be partway through a project right now?
That's a very good question. I would say that if it's a heritage building like ours, which is 165 years old now, so Victorian, stay true to that building's heritage. Yeah. Stay true to its deeds. Ours is of education, as it was a school to begin with. Its looks. Yeah. And its materials. I mean, we fought very hard to make sure it was done correctly. I mean, we put instead of having the plastic guttering and drains that were there in the last, 50, 60 years, we've exchanged them and got cast iron again. Yeah. And the roof tiles, we kept the originals that we could and put them on one side of the roof. On the other side, it's a handmade replica, which fits very nicely. Stay true to it is one of the main ones. Have dog-eared determination to see the project through.
Absolutely.
And have a wonderful, supportive family behind you, and good friends, if not the family as well, that will jump to and do little jobs that are needed to be done. I'm so grateful for those in the village that have stepped up and helped us, and for all those that bought raffle tickets, which gave us the little bits of extra funding to keep us going along the way.
Brilliant, Jane. Well, thanks for the insight, and most importantly, congratulations on representing your family and keeping up the tradition there. You never know, one day there might be a plaque next to the famous maypole in the village. with yours and your sister's names on it. Yeah,
I don't need that at all. We're so relieved to see the building as it should be, and that the next generation don't have the mammoth task that we had. So we're just glad to see it as it's looking now. I'm pleased that the community can get in as soon as COVID is over.
Yeah, excellent. Well, thanks, Jane. And as you're in Germany and with this northeast accent that I have, I guess I can't let you go without saying Auf Wiedersehen, pet.
Very good. Auf Wiedersehen.
Yeah.
Und tschüss.
Yeah. Now you've lost me already. So.
That's just the alternative to Auf Wiedersehen.
Yeah. Sorry about that as well, and sorry to the listeners. And no,
but a good one. I like it.
Excellent. Thanks again, Jane. Brilliant.
My pleasure.
Now, before we go, I'd just like to welcome on board another sponsor for our podcast as well, Hallmaster, which helps village halls through its online booking and invoicing system. Hallmaster have kindly agreed to support our shows, which is fantastic. And you can find more information about Hallmaster on the sponsors page of our website. Many thanks too, of course, to our headline sponsor and specialist insurance provider, Allied Westminster, for also making our podcast possible, and whose services you can discover more about at www.villageguard.com. You've been listening to the Village Halls podcast, a new and unique listening community for Britain's village, church and community halls, and anyone interested in the vital community services they provide. We'll be back with another episode soon, so if you haven't already, please visit thevillagehallspodcast.com to subscribe, sign up for updates, link through to our social media pages, and to find out more. Until the next time, goodbye for now.